Did you think there was an opportunity to pick up a victory against Pat? Was it missed?
I don't know. I suppose any day that you're coming away from Pats and you haven't lost, I suppose, and you're being criticised is a compliment. We look back at the match. We watched it twice. I suppose the crucial period was the 20 minutes before half time when we were well on top. And in any tight game, one goal changes the whole complex of the match. And it was only afterwards when we watched it we realised what a great save O'Malley made from Finney. I suppose the first one when Shep hit the crossbar. I think when we watched it back yesterday and looked at it with the lads, I think he realised it was a great opportunity that he missed. You know what I mean? And but Finney, to be fair to him, O'Malley made a fantastic save, and then straight from the corner, we had another chance at the back post in the space of probably 5-6 minutes. We had three good chances, and that period of the match, I suppose the second half, the first half as we call it, we were well on top. I felt, and in those tight matches, if you get one or two chances, sometimes you need to take them. Obviously, Nulls made a great save from Fagan before half time, but the second half was a very tight game, and I suppose Pats didn't want to lose the match either. So it's the only disappointing thing, and we looked at it afterwards, that maybe in the last 10 minutes when they were down to 10 men, that we probably didn't get the ball wide that we should have, and we had a good look at it yesterday, and maybe some guys maybe went into bad positions or wrong positions, and but that's look, at these things happen. As I said, we're trying to improve every week, and I think we are, and while sometimes you come back and you say, well, maybe could we have got the 3 points? We could have, but at the same time we might have lost the match as well. But I think the positives, that defensive were very strong. I think on the weekend going into the match, we had two of our strikers who hadn't trained all week, and I think they both found it as the game went on. And Friday night it was challenging. But look, at the end of the day, sort of we're right in there. Long way to go. This league will come down to the last 5 matches of the season. Last year it came down to the last game of the season. When Coxey won the league in 2005, it came down to the last game of the season. When Coxey won the league in 1993, it went beyond the season. So, this, and I suppose if you go back and reflect on last year, at August last year, Dundalk had the League One, and it transpired that, it went down to the last game of the season. So I think it's very important, that this year, particularly with the likes of Rovers, Pats being around, fair play, the Bows are hanging in there. But I think you'll see that, the league is really in the last 5-6 games is when the sort of the running comes, and up to that point you have to make sure that you're in there, and so overall on reflection, I suppose we reflected on it, we looked at it, we looked at what we did very well, areas that we could have improved on, but I think in crucial matches and tight matches, it's very important sort of that if you get an opportunity and you take it changes the whole complex of the game. So I think overall, I think Pats were happy as well that they didn't lose the match. So, most importantly for us is that we go to Drogheda this week, which is a totally different challenge.
They're known as a passing team, and it's interesting that you brought up the John O'Flynn chance, because that was a passage you played that City put together, passing along the deck. There was a lot of high balls which Sean Hoare and Kelly Brown were just mopping up like. Yeah. Was it possibly a night for Mark O'Sullivan?
Well, I suppose the beauty.
This is hindsight, no, of course.
No, I'm well aware that it was if we had all in hindsight, we'd be millionaires after the Grand National on Saturday. So we were all experts beforehand. But I think the beauty about sport is everyone has an opinion. And I keep saying, no matter what job you're in, if you ask someone else who's maybe an engineer or a graphic designer what job they do, they'll tell you, and you won't have any thoughts on it. But in sport, we're all experts, and we all. And that's the beauty about it. We all think we know everything about every sport, and to me, you see, the most important thing for me is that since the day I've taken over the club, the support that I've got, the team I've got, has been phenomenal, and you can see with the crowds coming through the gate everywhere I go around the city, county every day of the week, and to me, they are really, I suppose ultimately, the real Cork City football people. They're the people that follow the club. They're the people that matter. And sometimes it's easy for throwaway comments, and sometimes people criticise the club who don't like the club, have no interest in the club, You know what I mean? And you know, ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the beauty we have is that we have passionate people come in every week, support us, and I think they know that we've come a long way. It's the first time since Force has taken over that we've been up near the top last year. We're there again this year, and I think they realise how difficult it is. And I suppose, to answer your question, not only with that passive play for John O'Flynn, that 20 minutes before half time, we'd played extremely well, and our passing had been very good. I think what might have happened in the last, when the guy got sent off, I think maybe when we looked at it, is that we might have panicked a little bit at times, or been over anxious and tried to go forward too quickly. You know, and these things can happen, but you know, from a playing point of view, you know, the week before, you know, which is always a dangerous sport, you live by your next game. You know, the plaudits were hitting the sky, that we were absolutely untouchable. Our movement, our passing was superb against Derry, which it was. And I suppose we tried to do the same against Pats. Periods we did. But then, as I said, Flynn had missed training all week, got tired, Shep got tired, and these things happen. Was it a night for Mark? Maybe it may well have been, but Mark's come back from a long, you know, he'd been out injured for pre-season for 2.5 weeks. He struggled to get his fitness back. He played against Waterford and did very well, but took him a while to get into the game, and he's been training very hard on his days off. We've had specialised training to get him back to the fitness levels of last year, because maybe as well for Mark, he's a fantastic guy and a great guy, but maybe sometimes after your first season you maybe don't realise it's going to be harder next year because people know about you. And Mark certainly wasn't as fit at the start of this season as he was last year, because he was coming out of the senior league, and he realised that, and we've been doing a lot of work. So yes, it may well have been, but I suppose if you looked at the last number of weeks with Flinney in the team, we've tended to play a lot more ball to feet and a lot more runs behind, and it's given us a different dimension. So yeah, it happens. And look at, I suppose if I'm being honest with you, I think the sending off changed the game for us, because we reacted differently, whereas on reflection and looking back and discussing it with the lads, which we do, is that we've realised that maybe we should have stretched the game more. But that's, you know, there's plenty of time to rectify that, and as I said, you know, Friday night's gone. For us, the crucial thing is we're in Drogheda next Friday night, which is a huge game for us again.
They had a very good start, and they seem to have fallen away, but they've gone close, haven't they, the past 2 weeks? Dundalk last weekend, the Bows the week before, so there will be a challenge on a difficult pitch.
Well, look, it's one of those situations that 2 weeks ago against Bohemians, and Daryl Cavan missed a penalty. You know, they'd already beaten Sligo, who, you know, at the start of the season, before any ball was kicked, everyone was saying we're title contenders, and there were 2 minutes from getting them drawn in Dundalk. So, you know, I suppose when you look at the quality of the players they have, we all know Daryl Cavan on his day, he's probably one of the top players in the league. They've Thornton back from England, who has played at the highest level, maybe not as long as he wanted to, but he has been there. And then they've a mixture of the Drogheda team of last year, plus a few of the Athlone lads Alan Byrne brought in, and you know, they have Slingerman and goal, who's a top goalkeeper. So Mar in the middle of the park, Walsh, a lot of these guys, Brady, a lot of these guys who've been around, and who are good seasoned League of Ireland players. And Drogheda's a very tight venue, and if you look back in last year, we scored, I think, with about 8 minutes to go to win 1-0 in a very, very tight game. Actually, Gavin Houlihan, who was with Drogheda the same day, cracked a shot off the crossbar from 25 yards at 0-0. So, you know, and this year Johnny McDonald has brought in a much physical team, bigger size. A lot of players are 6'3" or 4", and they're playing a lot on set plays and stuff like that. And it's a very tight pitch, so we know it's going to be a huge battle. And look, we're focused on trying to go up there and get the 3 points.
Any news on injuries this early?
At the moment, I suppose the big doubt is probably Shep. He probably was 50-50 starting on Friday night. Obviously, because of the week before, we decided to go with him. He wanted to go with it, and but he's a problem with his groin, which is at this moment in time, even though we have a few days to go, looks as that he may not make Friday night. Colin is back training, so we'd certainly hope by tomorrow, Thursday, that we'll have a better idea whether he'll be back in contention. That's really regarding that.
Is Finney fully recovered now?
Finney is.
Remember last week he hadn't trained the previous week.
And he didn't train yet. He hasn't trained this week yet, but due to train tomorrow. Hopefully, I suppose there's two things you need to be careful of here. Is that particularly if guys get hamstring or groin injuries when you're playing so often, and particularly when you look at next week, you play Monday, Friday. You know what I mean? And we're ending up with coming into May when we'll have a lot of 3 matches in the week. What you don't want to do is risk a guy, and even though the next game is the most important game, you certainly don't want to risk a guy and he misses 4 or 5 weeks afterwards. That's what you don't want to do. So medically, he's due to train tomorrow, and they're telling me that he should be okay for Friday. So fingers crossed, because certainly you don't want to lose 2 strikers straight away for this match.
Unbeaten still, John, and 6 clean sheets in the league now in a row. Like, that must be a pleasing aspect.
Yeah, look, it's great, because you look at it. Dundalk are doing something similar. Rovers are doing something similar, and Bows as well. So when you're keeping clean sheets, one, it gives confidence to the team overall, but 2, it means then the chances are you win the matches that and you look at I suppose. Despite like, I think, to be fair, we've done exceptionally well at the start of the year, because if you look at Friday night, it's our 8th game. It's our 5th away match out of 8. So we've had it's and we've been in probably 3 of the potential title challenges as well away. So it's been a funny start. Whereas last year was the opposite. We got the benefit that we had 5 home games at the start. So it was in the first 7-8 matches. So it's the opposite this year. So. And it is a bit more difficult, because as well as that, is that every team has to have a cut off you. You look back on Bray 3 weeks ago. Was that a good 3 points now? Considering Bray have turned around and scored 7 goals in their last 2 games, they've got 6 points. Maybe they've turned the corner, and maybe we got Bray at the right time. And then I suppose we beat Limerick down here 5-0. Everyone said Limerick weren't a good side. Bray beat them 4-0 last week. Still, Limerick turned up last week and drew with Drogheda. Or drew it Dundalk, so it's very, very tight. So I think overall that I think we've had a very good start. Clean sheet is good, but we come into a huge week, where we have Drogheda away Friday, which is always a tricky venue, and it's important for us to come out with the right result. Because if it does, it sets us up for the week. But it's a difficult place to go to, very tight ground, and it's a game that they're definitely going to be up for it, and we just must make sure that we're ready for it as well.
That's probably a help, is it, that knowing every opponent will be up for it against it guards against any complacency?
Yeah, it should, Dennis, and that's what you're trying to say, and plus the fact we've a lot of experience in the team, and they've been there, a lot of them been there before, and you're just trying to get that across to the younger players that you cannot take anything for granted. And I suppose a typical example is that we beat Limerick 5-0 at home 2 weeks previously. They knocked us out of the Munster Senior Cup. They take a result off Dundalk last week, then they lose to Bray. We're criticised because we only beat Bray 1-0. It's crazy, what I mean. That's the brilliant thing about it, and the brilliant thing, to be fair, I think why our league is so interesting is because I think it's a situation. It's not like you see European leagues like in Spain where you see 2-3 teams every year. End of story. I think that's why you can see, and people all of a sudden, no one spoke about Bows. Bows were right in there. They were desperately unlucky to lose to Dundalk. You know what I mean? But they're right in the mix, so it's great. And I think the thing about our league is that, on the day, it's just complacency and you're going to get done. And it's you have to guard against that. And I suppose, yes, we stress every week that doesn't matter. Playing this weekend is the same as if we're playing Rovers or Pats. They're still the same 3 points. The difference with the likes of Drogheda is that they're going to raise their game, because they see this as a huge match for them. Yeah. And generally the lower teams, when they play you, they want to go out and prove that they're as good as you, and they do up the ante. Yeah. And I suppose if you go back to us a couple of years ago, I remember towards the end of the season, a couple of years ago, we beat Pats 4-2.
Yeah.
We were mid-table, and everyone was still all of a sudden saying, God, maybe we were as good as Pats. They won the league. We were never as good as Pats, but on the night, You know,
Yeah.
we decided, our lads just decided to hit form. But then sometimes when the teams are in the middle or the bottom, it's when they play the bottom teams, they struggle to get themselves up for the game. You know what I mean? So these things can happen. But yeah, it's crucial for us that we're not complacent. And to be honest, we work hard at that, trying to make sure that we're not.
Yeah.
You know, and that everyone realises how difficult, and that's why you analyse the opposition so much, and you're trying to get as much information on them to show them where their strengths are and what you need to guard against, and but also at the same time what your strengths are and how we can get the result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's yeah, absolutely.
And at this stage of the season, how much you're actually looking at other results? You know, are you just kind of focusing on making sure that you're just up there and it doesn't matter, you know, if Dundalk are 2 or 4 ahead or...
It doesn't matter. And I'll be straight on with you. I think someone said to me last Friday night, I was actually on the bus before I knew the other scores, you know, which was probably, I don't know, half an hour afterwards,
Yeah.
or no, maybe sorry, in the press conference. Well, there were, it doesn't, because I'm around to realise that the crucial thing, this league will come down to the last 5 or 6 matches, and if you're there, you're in with a chance,
Yeah.
and you need to be there. You know what I mean? There's no one in this league going to have this league won with 6-7 games to go, no chance. If anything, we could have at least 3 teams involved this year at the up to the end. But what's important is, what you don't want to do then is to get adrift,
Yeah.
and let someone go too far. And I suppose if you look at it from the outside, is that if you take, you know, the start of the National League launch at the start of the season, people were taping Pats, Rovers, Dundalk, ourselves, Sligo, Derry. All of a sudden, if you look at it now, you know, Sligo have had an unusual start. They were unlucky against us, you know, with the late equaliser, and then probably knocked them a bit of momentum. But if you look at the table, realistically speaking, you know, at the moment, the best they can do now is get into Europe.
Yeah.
They can't win the league because the gap has gone so big. 4 teams aren't going to collapse and fold overnight. You know, so it's different if they're catching 1, they're catching 4 teams, and the gap has gone big. So it just shows you that, you know, if you get detached, you're out of it. So that's important. So you need to be in. You need to stay in there. And look, it's desperately early days. 26 games. You know, I'm not really worried about anyone else. I just want to make sure that we can stay in there. And look, I think we're a better team than last year. I think we've shown that.
Yeah.
I look at the fact that, like, at home we've only had 3 home games, but we've scored 10 goals. We've conceded none.
Yeah.
You know, we're creating a lot more chances. You know, I think the positives is that, you know, last year we left Pats with a last minute defeat. They scored in the last minute, and people are saying we were unlucky and whatever. We leave last Friday night, and people are saying, well, we should have won the match.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we've come to, and that's good, and it's where we want to be. Because there's no hiding place here. We want to be at the top. We want to be challenging. You know what I mean? And I suppose people that know myself from coming in know how passionate I am about the club. Know I'm trying to do everything in my power to see, can we get there? We know how difficult it is, but we want to be there.
Yeah.
So I think overall, when you look at the start of the season, with the way the game we've played and whatever, I think we're in a good position. It's very early days. But certainly, I'm not interested about any other team at the moment.
And do you think you're getting enough credit for where City are? I think Dave Barry was kind of fighting City's corner on telly last night.
Yeah, I got a text this morning. I didn't watch it. I normally watch it on Tuesday evening because I go to bed. I have to go to bed. I'm getting old. Yeah, look at. If I'm being honest with you, it only matters to the Cork City people.
Yeah.
I don't care who slags me off. There are even people locally that slag us off who aren't Cork City people. The people that are important to me are the people who support this club. Okay? I see people who have opinions. They have nothing to do with Cork City. They're not interested in Cork City. If anything, if I was devious, I'd say they nearly prefer Cork City not doing properly well. I'm more interested in the real Cork City people. Do you know what I mean? And I know them. I've been at the club for 30 years. They come in through the gate. They support. They write well about us. You know, if we lose, we're all disappointed.
Yeah.
If we win, we're all elated. Okay? I see massive goodwill out there. I see massive support. Fantastic people coming through the gate, and they're coming in their droves, and they're showing us, you know, that they're behind this team. And so I don't mind constructive criticism, but at the same time, are there people always criticising? Of course there are. But it doesn't bother me because I know they're not interested in Cork City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter to me. It's only the Cork City people I'm interested in, the people who genuinely want us to do well, and that's where I'm at. And fortunately for me, the board for us, you know what I mean, they're supporters. They can see what we're trying to do here. They can see that it is tough, but we're doing well. and they know basically there's no bluffing. We're all passionate to try and get results for the club.
Yeah.
So that's the way I view it. Like.
We're inclined to be overcritical in Cork. I think everybody would acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But like we're forgetting that.
That's a surprise, no, really, isn't it?
But like Dundalk won 3 of their 6 victories by 1-0. So
Yeah.
like they're not sitting. They're not. You know, they're finding it difficult as well. I don't expect you to comment on Dundalk, but
No,
like,
no,
it's
no,
a
but-
difficult league, as you keep saying.
No, it's difficult. But look at, I keep saying, you know, we're in the club with John Cotter, Phil Harrington, Billy Woods, myself. We analyse every match. We watch the videos. We go back at it. I would have some very close football people who would be steeped in League of Ireland, steeped in Cork, whatever. And you discuss and you go through things. You still have to be very strong-willed and determined. At the end of the day, and you're right, if I see criticism, someone says, well, you didn't do that, or maybe you didn't do it, or likewise, the last day, Billy, you said maybe John, the last 10 minutes, did you put the ball in high? We did. We spoke about afterwards how to address them. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, because some of that can be constructive. If there's negative stuff and there's constant anti, I see that as well. I don't get involved in it. I don't read it, because sometimes I see it from people that have no interest in the club. They're not interested in Cork City, so I don't care. I'm only interested in getting the right results there. People say in social media, I don't get involved with this. Is it. Most people in social media have fictitious names. A lot of them aren't even from Cork, so it doesn't matter what they say. Do you know what I mean? So I suppose, does criticism hurt you? Of course, no one likes to be criticised, but you don't come into this job and expect. So I'm used to that, but at the same time, I have to be, it'd be a lot more worrying for me if I walked into Turner's Cross next week and 5,000 people said to me, get out the door. And that's what I wouldn't want. I would never want that situation to happen. Then again, if that was the situation, we wouldn't have 5,000 people down there anyway. Okay? So ultimately, that's, that's what so I don't, and I see sometimes people say, oh, such a person said something about you, and I go, it doesn't matter. He has nothing to do with Cork City. He has no interest in Cork City. So you have to separate the wood from the trees, and I think I've been around the place 30 years, and I know people who genuinely have been strong League of Ireland people, strong Cork City, have come through. They brought their kids, their families. They go, and you just know it. You know what I mean? So criticism is fine. Constant criticism that means nothing. To be honest with you, I just don't get involved in it. It doesn't. I'd have to say it doesn't really. I suppose, to be honest with you, Dennis, the people it probably does hurt more is probably your family or friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they take it personally. Whereas I don't, because I've been used to. I've won things, I've lost things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's been plenty of days I've played as a player when it was absolutely crap. You know what I mean? There was days when I played okay. There was finals I played in when we lost, we weren't good. And we looked at it, and you blame yourself, and you say, God, it was bad that day. But I suppose because of that, then you're strong. You take the knocks. I suppose it's more difficult for your family, and particularly if you have kids in that, because they're sensitive, and but you have to just tell them not to read it, stop, which is difficult for them, but just ignore it. But it is hard, but that's just the job.
When you're at the top or near the top, there's only one way you can go. That's down. You can't go any
Well,
higher.
Billy, I think we can go higher. Do you want to be honest? I think we can go higher. So that's my aim, because, obviously, as I said, from the time I've come in, being an amateur football for 10, 11 years, which was phenomenal for me. I loved it. I did very well. But obviously, coming to the club that I played with for 16 seasons, then supported, obviously, it's my dream sort of to see, can we win trophies? That's what we want to do. So I suppose I'm passionate about that. So we're doing everything in our power to it, and that's why I think the supporters know that, and they know who's there. They know I haven't flown in from London or some place like that. They know who I am, and they know what I'm trying to do. So that's why I think the support has been there, and that's why we've done well. But I think we can get better. Are we a better team than last year? I think we are. I think we are a better team than last year. Football-wise, we're a better team than last year. Okay? But throughout the season, we hope that'll show. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to gel. You looked at the Derry performance. That was probably our best performance since it came to the club. Football-wise, you know what I mean? But we're hoping to, give performance like throughout the season. So, you know, time will tell, but I'm hoping that will happen.
Sean, just going back to what you were saying there earlier about how competitive the league is it a bit like the Premier League in England? That you can't really afford to lose 4 or 5 matches. If you do, you won't be winning it. Is that fair comment?
I'd say if you lose 5 matches, you can't win the league.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's gone. Like, I think if you look at last year, I think Dundalk lost 2, and we lost 5, and ultimately, you know, it was just too much. No, 3 to them wasn't good enough. But I just feel that it's even if you go back and when City won the league in 2005 or in 70 January, you look at it, the team that will win the league won't lose 3-4 max. You know, I don't think you can get away with it. But I suppose the difference between our league and other leagues, you know, is that we don't have a guy that comes in and puts in so many billion behind the team and they run away with it. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, at least in this league you have 9 full-time teams out of 12, which means that most of them are off 11 playing field. Granted, our budgets might be different. You know what I mean? Obviously, we've got the 5th biggest budget. You know, which because a lot of our money goes into travelling costs. You know, which is again we all spoke about. But that's just the way it is. There's no complaints. If you're from Cork, you're from Derry, Sligo, that's the way it is. You deal with it. No point in mourning. They're the circumstances. And but I'd say that 3-4, that's all you can afford to lose, and maybe not even that. You know, maybe not 5.
What about the Dundalk games on television? That's going to be good for the exposure for the club and so on.
When is that game on?
24th.
TV.
I'll talk about that next week.
I'm just talking about the fact that it's on television. That is good for, obviously the 2 clubs are going to get good exposure on television. There's a huge crowd there.
Sure, we'll
Yeah,
have a huge crowd anyway. You know, look, the way I feel about it, I think I keep saying this. I think our league is an excellent league. It doesn't get the coverage it should get. I think the media coverage in the league is being the people that cover our league give it phenomenal coverage. Okay, would we like RT to cover more matches? Of course we would. But still, to be fair to RT, they have a programme every week promoting the league. They show so many league matches in the year. So do St and the others. The more games we can have on TV, the better it is, because at the end of the day, if you can show a match on TV and have 6,500, 7,000 people on it full time, it does look good. You know, it makes. And actually, at the managers' meeting early in the season, we did speak to RT and say that try and pick grounds that are suitable. You know, you show the games from Tala, Turner's Cross, showgrounds. You know what I mean? Where they're actually proper football stadiums. You know, I know disrespect to some other clubs, but like that's, you know, if you're showing your matches on TV, show them in those grounds, because they're proper football grounds. So, you know, it's great that they're covering the game. I'd like to be covering the game every week, but that's not possible. But still, look at they're covering the game, and the more games to cover, you know, it's more press for us and more media coverage, and that's all good for the league.
Another vital thing, John, with the breakaway of 3 or 4 teams, that you have to stay in that group. It's like a marathon. You can't be cut off and left there. You have to beat those teams. Like Pats are suffering it this season. They've lost to Rovers. They lost to Dundalk. They only drew with us last week. Like, you really want to be beating the people in that little pod of 3 or 4, don't you?
Well, I think,
and that proved last season when we lost 9 points to...
Correct. And at the end of the day, I suppose, look, you're right, last season was the corner we lost it 3 times to Dundalk, and that was an 18-point swing. You know, and there's no doubt in that. I suppose, to answer your question, you need to get results off the top teams, because ultimately when it gets to the end of the season, if you haven't taken results, you're just going to be those couple of points off. You know what I mean? So it's like, look, don't get me wrong, Pats can still win the league. They can, you know, they're still right in there. But, you know, I'm sure they're unhappy with the points they've dropped so far. But you're right, if the same happens in the second phase of the season against the big teams that don't take points, well, then it's going to cost you. There's no doubt about that. And I suppose the other thing for us is that, like, with Sligo, Rovers, Pats away, those 3 are coming to us, you know, and then obviously have to come back in the second phase. So then it's, when we're at home, it's up to us then to see, can we get the maximum points, you know what I mean? But you know, we'll see where that comes around, but definitely you need to take results off the top teams.
A small problem with my back. was going into my hamstring and my groin. So as you can see, I'm back training yesterday and today. So see how it goes.
Hopeful for the weekend?
I will see. We take it this week, and we take it from there.
Are you surprised you were out so long? You missed 4 matches, I think.
I felt that after the game against Shamrock Rovers, my hamstring was sore, and my back, it was coming from my back. So you got to be careful with these things. So it wasn't right for the Derry game, so I sat out the Derry game, and I've just been getting treatment ever since. But yesterday I trained first time yesterday, so it seems to be okay. So as you can see, I'm trying to get my fitness up a small bit.
How do you think the season's going?
Yeah, it's going well. The lads that come into the team done very well. Listen, we always knew it was going to be a tough season this year, especially with Rovers and all these, and Dundalk adding to the teams as well. So it's going to be tough, but we knew that anyway.
But with Liam and Benno coming in, they've added something that you had added yourself to the squad, really, haven't they?
But there's other lads than myself. But with the class that Liam has and Benno has, it's adding for especially the young lads coming into the team. When you see these lads around the place training, it's great. It's great for people in Cork come back in, watch the likes of Liam Miller and Benno playing. It's only a good thing for Cork City.
And the young guys are benefiting, the John Cavanaghs, Gary Buckley's.
John's been around a while now, and everybody's just seen how good he is. Buck's been around a year or two, so I wouldn't class Bucks as a young lad anymore. But yeah, Bucks he's a very good player, and he can only get better.
What challenge do Drogheda pose on Friday night?
They're good. They're a well organised team. It's always hard going up there, but we'll be ready, and hopefully we can go up there and do the business.
And a busy period, Karen, again, three matches in the space of a week now, like
That's it, yeah.
Friday, Monday, Friday again.
Yeah, and
Is that taking a toll on some of the older guys?
that's saying that me, is it? No, listen, we got a big squad, and you know, these games they come thick and fast, and we'll be ready for it. A lot of recovery days as well, so we'll be ready for it. There's no problem there.
This is all about the squad, obviously. The squad's
But
going to win the league.
everything is about the squad, really. We got a good squad. When players aren't playing, they come in, they do the business. So yeah, we got a good squad. So
this year, when you look at the bench, in let's say the past 3 or 4 games, you're looking at the bench now, and you know, like, their players here who can come in and change the match.
oh, they are, of course. They are,
Just
of course.
for the first
Yeah,
time in a long time.
that's it. It's a strong
Must
bench,
be
and
better.
listen, it's competition up for places, isn't it? That'll bring the best out of everybody.